This is just the second time the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to the playoffs in the last 15 years. The last time came in 2017 when their quarterback was Blake Bortles and their head coach was Doug Marrone. That was when the Saxonville slogan was at its forefront in Duval. Jalen Ramsey, Yannick Ngakoue, Telvin Smith, AJ Boye, those were the guys thought to be the future heroes of the franchise, but that dream would end as quickly as it started. In just 2 years, the Jags would let go of Bortles, trade Jalen Ramsey, and see other big stars walk away from the same team they took moments away from appearing in the Super Bowl. But as the saying goes, everything happens for a reason. And although personally I think it's never that black and white, things have a funny way of working out and coming full circle in the sports world and in life in general. Little did Jacksonville know, their fall off from near triumph may have hindered a possible defensive dynasty, but would kickstart the career of arguably the greatest quarterback prospect we've ever seen in the last 10 years. 2020 through 2021 was the absolute bottom of the barrel in terms of record and a lot of other things that make an NFL franchise relevant. In the midst of all the craziness, the Jaguars drafted Trevor Lawrence, and he was put in possibly the worst situation I've ever seen a rookie quarterback be put into. There was no direction, their roster sucked, their best player was arguably their kicker, and they hired a coach who lost the locker room before he could even get players on board with whatever he was trying to build. After the 2021 season, the Jaguars would yet again be given the most backhanded award in all of sports, the top pick in the draft. And with that top pick, they got Trayvon Walker, a pass rusher from Georgia who was raw but had a high ceiling. Surprisingly enough, that wasn't even the biggest storyline in Jacksonville. The Eagles were gifted their first Super Bowl in franchise history 4 years prior with a backup quarterback against the greatest of all time in Tom Brady. The man behind all of it was Doug Peterson. Peterson's career would come to a surprising end with Philadelphia in 2020, and he would take a year off from coaching before eventually being brought back in to save a franchise who's been longing for leadership. It's safe to say now, both the Eagles and Jaguars are at peace with what once was and what could have been. Doug Peterson instantly felt like a great hire to me. Anytime you hire a coach who's led a team to a Super Bowl, it always feels different. It feels like you're moving in a better direction, and that's something that the Jags knew needed to be done. The Jaguars would throw money like they were at fucking Vanilla Unicorn in GTA 5 in free agency, and honestly, made some of the boldest signings I've ever seen. They would sign wide receiver Christian Kirk to a 4-year, $72 million contract, which is one of the highest in the league. At the time, Kirk had yet to hit 1,000 yards in a season. Wide receiver Zay Jones would also join Kirk in Jacksonville, as the Jags would sign him to a 3-year, $24 million contract, all while never going over 700 yards in a season. A tight end everyone considered to be a bust. He couldn't catch, he's got no hands. He would join the ride. Pro Bowl right guard Brandon Scherf, Super Bowl champion cornerback Darius Williams, Foye Oluokun, and others would all be brought in on what seemed to be an impulsive head coach just throwing money at players because he could. Even though a lot of people, including myself, thought he was crazy, who are we to say that it's wrong? This season, Christian Kirk broke 1,000 yards for the first time in his career. Zay Jones went over 800 yards on 82 catches, and Evan Ingram just topped his career totals in catches and yards after his career looked unfixable. Jaguars are 9-8 and division champs as I speak into this microphone today. Before all of that, before Josh Allen returned that touchdown, they were dead in the water. They were 3-7. I mean, they were losing to the fucking Houston Texans and Colts. Like, they just weren't a very good football team. And to really put that kind of turnaround in perspective, let's compare their first half of their season to the other half, or more specifically, before their bye week and after their bye week. And I don't know what was said or what changes were made, but whatever it was, it worked really well. Before the bye week, the Jags were allowing 357 yards per game, but oddly enough, they outscored their opponents overall, allowing just 20.5 points per game, while scoring 21.6 points per game. I think that shows that in the aspect of playing football, for a lack of a better term, it wasn't all that terrible. They absolutely routed the Chargers and the Colts early in the season, allowing just 10 points to the Chargers and shutting out the Colts. They then let up 34 points to the Colts a few weeks later and lost to the Broncos in London. Consistency was the problem. They had players, they proved that they could win and win convincingly, but for whatever reason, they just couldn't do it week in and week out. After the bye week, the numbers on defense were actually pretty similar. The difference in yards per game allowed was only 10 yards less, and the difference in points per game allowed was only 0.2 points more. After the bye week, they allowed 347 yards per game and 20.7 points per game. The most glaring difference though, and the reason they were able to pull out 6 wins out of their last 7, was their offense and takeaways. The Jags over the past 7 weeks are putting up 26.8 points per game and have 13 takeaways, 3 of which resulted in touchdowns, and 2 of those touchdowns won them the game. Rayshawn Jenkins had 2 game-winning plays in must-win games. The pick 6 against the Cowboys was insane, and the forced fumble against the Titans injected life in that game. They came back down 27-10 against Dallas. They've shut teams down. There's been games where Trevor Lawrence lights it up and games where ETN steals the show. The Jaguars' formula is find a way to win, and they've been doing that. You can't really put your finger on one thing and say that's it. That's the reason that they've been winning. They just been winning. I don't care who they've played. They're in the playoffs now, and whoever has to play them is running into a team that's hot and playing their best football. I heard this in a promo for the 72 Dolphins documentary, and I can't for the life of me remember the player who said it, but they said it's amazing what you can accomplish when you don't care who gets the credit. And that statement couldn't be more true when talking about this Jaguars team. The 2022 Jaguars may not be a team to write home about as of right now. A lot of teams have came back from bad records. It's not necessarily about right now, but about the future, and it's as bright as any teams out there. Right now, though, there is a playoff game waiting to be played this Saturday night in Jacksonville with a crowd full of ravaged fans who've been waiting for another division title. And to be honest, we all know that they want more than that. Their first task is a big one in Justin Herbert, but if you look back to week 3, the Jags will tell you it's a problem for them, not for us. After years of heartbreak, the Jaguars might finally have what they were searching for. A winning head coach, a winning quarterback, and unselfish players who will do anything for the guy beside them. That's a football team. That's family. A quarterback who's won it all in college and a coach who's won it all in the NFL. I think they're looking to do that together right there in Duval County.
Look at Smoot, look at Cam, the guys that can't play because of injury. You play for them, right? They would give everything to be on that football field with you guys, and you battled for them. And, listen, you're AFC South champs, baby. Listen, this man right here, he's poured everything into Jacksonville for a long, long time, okay? And for us, obviously, this is our first season together. We wanted to present Shad and Tony with the 2022 AFC South Division Championship.